8 years of human suffering. Syrians continue to bury their children. 16-year-old Muhammad and his 14-year-old sister Amni were killed in government artillery strikes.
We buried them in a mass grave. I didn't see them because it would be unbearable. They were burned. No flesh, no bones.
There is an active front line between the government and opposition in the southern countryside of rebel-controlled Idlib, where a ceasefire should be in place. Instead, almost 200 civilians have been killed since the beginning of the year. Thousands have been forced to flee in recent weeks, adding to the millions already displaced, many of them displaced multiple times.
The bombardment forced us to leave our home in the northern countryside of Homs. We escaped to Aleppo, then to East Homs, Hasaka, Hama, and now Idlib, where we had to move from the front lines. There is nowhere safe.
There is little peace even in government-controlled territories, where rights groups report arbitrary arrests and a return to repressive rule. So-called reconciliation agreements in former opposition-held areas are not being respected.
The most recent cases we documented were in Ghouta. 6 civil defence volunteers were detained for no reason. There are many other cases, but people are afraid to provide information because they fear the intelligence services.
The absence of the rule of law, unaccountable security agencies were some of the reasons why Syrians rebelled in 2011. The regime refused reforms back then and chose to crack down, pushing the opposition to take up arms.
The Syrian president is still refusing demands for change. The international community wants Bashar al-Assad to engage in a credible political process that would lead to a new constitution and free elections. But political reform would mean giving up power, and the Syrian leadership is unlikely to hand over what it didn't lose on the battlefield.
For Assad, the war has been won. Some countries have already started to normalize ties with his government, but much of the international community won't accept it until political reforms are in place. And there remains the problem in the north of the country, much of which is not controlled by the government and is being fought over by the many interested parties. And the millions who live there can't and won't return to Assad's Syria. For them, the war is far from over. Ziena, Khodr, Al Jazeera, Beirut.